Listen, I've fucked up the intro twice, and this is low quality content, so fuck it, no intro. First off, I want to thank everybody who watched my last video. I was pleasantly surprised that got as many views as it did. It is now the most watched video on my channel, which originally that title was given to a video over 10 years ago that is now privated about how to get Victini in Pokemon Tower Defense, but I digress. So I kind of wanted to wait until the second half of the month pairs came out to make this video. I was kind of planning on making it anyways, but I'm updating parts of my tier list for August. I'm only really going to be talking about the pairs and types that are really featured, which is 6. So hopefully this won't be a 2-hour slog that you will only watch 3 minutes of. Let's just get into it. And I guess before I do want to mention, and clarify, I'm trying to make these videos for kind of like the casual players, where you're like my fiance, who they've known about the game since the beginning, but they only really care about certain characters or certain regions. You're like me, where you know, not really a whale, and you really like the gameplay, and you do invest a lot of time into it, but you're not like mega whale, ultra competitive, all that. Or you see, hey, they're doing a Hoenn event. I really like Hoenn. I want to get into the game. That's kind of what this tier list is for. I tend not to emphasize the premium units when I can. Sometimes that will be unavoidable, but I digress. So we're going to start with the fire type. I don't know how much is going to be duplicated from my last video, but we shall see. So here's my ranking of the fire type. Obviously, red is still very good. He is technically a premium unit, but if you're brand new / you haven't done this material yet, if you do the Victory Road training, you get one of the 3 Signasuit Kanto units for free, one of them being Signasuit Red. So I count him as free because he is kind of free, and they do at least run his rerun quite often. But he's probably one of the... I wouldn't say he's the best. I personally think the best is Anniversary N, which, unless they rerun him in this upcoming anniversary, he's only been through once. Leon is a good option, and they run him fairly often. I think I like Leon a little bit more than Ready Boy over here, but if you haven't done it yet and you don't really, if you don't want Signasuit Blue or Signasuit Leaf, which I personally prefer Blue over Red, because I think Blastoise is more beneficial as a very good support over Red, because there's plenty of good fire type options. Again, Leon. Again, Anniversary N. If you want to be broke about it, you can do Silver and Ho-Oh, but still very good. And then Signasuit Morty with Ho-Oh. Again, this is another one where I don't know if they'll run it again because it's tied to an event. He's not really a general premium unit. He needs to be down there, actually. I don't know why I had him up one. But obviously he's very good. I just don't know if they're going to run him again. The new addition to the tier, or to the list, is really kind of these two. Blue here is getting his EX, and I think if you... Obviously, you can't run him with Signasuit Blue, but if you want to run him with Blaine, who is a very underrated fire type because he can put up Sun, he can buff himself, and he can trap. Another good support is Evelyn. You go through, you get 10,000 battle points, you get the Super Battle voucher. Granted, all three of the units you can get for them aren't the greatest, but Evelyn is at least not the main character and still kind of a decent fire support. In my opinion, the only other good Super Battle Voucher pair is PC and Cobalion, but I digress. So, I think, oh, but the problem with Blue is he is a event pair. I wonder if they're going to run his event again. That will be interesting, or if they'll give him away. Since they're giving him his EX, I don't know. I know there's an event coming up with Classic Giovanni that we'll talk a little bit more about, but I think this will be interesting. But kind of the free team, if you will, would probably be Silver and Ho-Oh if you elect to go with Sigma Suit Blue Relief. Otherwise, Sigma Suit Red, Blaine, and Evelyn or Kawaii. His a Spotlight, which is a free, in my mind, unit. You know, you'll get them just by Spotlight pairs. You get just by doing any sort of pulls, so you can pull them from anything. And I think Kawaii, he may be on the Alola tickets as well, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. And Serena's not bad. She's got Go Viral 9, which I really like for status conditions, and she does. Hypnosis, she can trap. Overall, pretty good. Pairs to avoid. Hilda's garbage. I don't like Hilda. There's so many better units, and even if you want to go into strictly physical fire damage, Ho-Oh does it with, I believe, Sacred Fire is physical. Mazikin right here. I know I didn't touch on her, but she's got Damage Crush, which I believe is like Damage Obliterate, or Defense Crush, which is like Defense Destroyer or something, which will lower defense by 2 stats, or 2 ranks. Every time she uses a move, she's got Propulsion, or Fuel Economy, that's what it's called, which will lower her move gauge usage. Like, she looks like she's going to be really good. I think she's going to be the best fire physical damage dealer of the type. I know the rest of these, for the most part, are, at least the damage dealers, are special. So she's really good, and she helps with she can help with the sync nukes that require defense down like hers. The only problem with her is because she megas on her sync move, it does less damage. Because all the sync moves that mega or go into a form change, for the most part, there are 2 key exceptions, do less damage. So she helps with that, but other than that, and another good thing about her is if you happen to have Maxie, or since it's been leaked that Archie and Maxie are coming back on the Scouts, she'll do really well with Maxie, because Maxie buffs Hoenn pairs with their physical damage, and Mazikin is a Hoenn physical damage dealer. So, great synergy there. So, no reason to run Hilda, especially if you get Mazikin. Ethan's a little bit better. He at least does AoE, but his kit is way too gimmicky. Flannery and Torkoal, it's free burn, basically, but Flannery was the first unit they gave a sync grid to, and man, does it show. But that's going to be it for the fire type. On to the dragon type, and let's talk about the newcomers first. We have Brendan and Latios, who I am in a weird position with this unit. I don't have them, I will admit, but you know, like I said in my last tier list, if the pair is at least out, I want to try to have an opinion on it. I can see the appeal. You know, I've read online, and people are very hyped about the pair. I can kind of see some of it. You know, he does give, like other Brendan, he has a move that does a lot better the more energy it gives up for it. If he uses the max amount of energy for it, he gives all units free move, which can be really useful. He megas, and then he gets some good stuff when he megas, if I remember correctly. But I I'm still hesitant about it. Like, again, I can see the appeal. I feel like it's not the best. He does have potion, which is really nice. He buffs crit by 1. He can buff special attack and defense by up to 4. When he megas, he gets free venge, which free venge is pretty good. He gets free venge 9 when he megas, otherwise it's free venge 4. He buffs increases special moves up next effect by 1 when he enters the battle, which is pretty good. And then he has the increased chance of lowering stat values with the additional effects of moves. And if they are lowered, it's lowered by double. So on his Luster Purge is essentially a higher than 50% chance of lowering the target's special defense by 2, which is fine. You know, it's not bad. Like I said, I can see the appeal. I just have my personal... I just have a little bit of concerns about it, and I don't have the pair. But I'm still going to put him in very good, but premium. Drake is another new unit. He's getting his EX. I think Drake is very good, and he's free. He buffs move. He refills the move gauge, buffs special defense, buffs defense. Again, I think he's very good. The other new addition to the tier is eventually Mega Zinnia. She got her 6-star in the previous update, the one that kicked off the Hoenn event. I didn't talk about this a lot in my last video about lucky skills and grids. Because again, it was a 2-hour video. I wanted to keep it short on time, and I'm going to try to do that here. But Zinnia really needs a tile on her grid. Like, she has this tile, and you can get it because you can easily get her to 20-25-5, which is getting her essentially to the doorstep of 6-star EX and having her sync move at 5/5 max upgrade. And you can pick up the tile that negates confusion, and then if you give her the lucky skill Dauntless, which essentially is special attack can't be lowered, you really mitigate a lot of the problems with the unit, which is Outrage confuses her, and Draco Meteor lowers her special attack by 2. Her Mega is disappointing. Like, this buff she's getting, I don't like it. I really don't. When she becomes Mega, her lowered stats return to normal, which, okay. And then she has a 30% chance of charging the user's move gauge by 1. And then her Aerial Ace becomes Dragon Ascent, which, okay, whatever. You know, I feel like part of the appeal of Rayquaza was that she was a dragon hitter, and now her best move is Flying type, which, whatever. At least she doesn't get a nerf to her sync move, which is good, but at the end of the day, yeah, she's getting her Mega. But big ol' Cyree boy up here, still free, still a legendary pair, and still a whole lot better, you know. Like I mentioned in my last video, Cyrus is probably the best dragon type unit in the game. And yeah, he gets helped a lot by Lucas, who I do have, but Lucas is kind of a generic Pokefair, at least. They've ran his repeat a couple of times. Lucas, albeit, is the Dragon Zone setter, which would definitely help Zinnia. But Cyrus is just a critical hit machine, and he can just mow through any Dragon Weak stage, or any stage you want to use him on, and you can probably do a lot better buffing him with different pairs than Zinnia. Like, I feel like Zinnia needs more help. Kind of moving on, Cygnus Suit, Cynthia is alright. Like, she hits kind of hard, but she hits AoE. Dragonite's just... that kit's not great. Like, you want a recoil buffing move? Hey, Cyrus has that too, except his is a lot better. So, and then Iris and Alicia, like, whatever. If you don't have anything better and you're trying to get to Cyrus or you're trying to get to whoever, Alicia is probably fine. Alicia at least has some usage. And I'll actually bump her up a tier. Because she has some usage if you're getting stymied by any stage that has like weather, and I think also zones she can remove as well. So that's pretty good. But other than that, she is not your primary damage dealer. She is like a disrupting tech unit. So, but that's it for the dragon types. And now we talk about the normal types. This is a bit tricky because obviously normal doesn't have anything in hit for weakness, with a couple of exceptions, those being Mega Lopunny, who becomes a fighting type after she megas, and then Gladian, who can change his type. Obviously, he's probably like the best normal damage dealer in the game. I just realized I don't have Charon up here, but you know what, Charon's not that great anyways. Like, if you have nothing better. There's better units to even do full heal, like whatever. Nothing burger, but yeah, Gladian's like the best damage dealer normal type has, but really the creme de la creme is its supports. Redlax is probably one of the best supports in the game. I personally have him number 2 behind Sycamore and Xerneas. He's very good, and they've repeated him before, and if they repeat him again, I highly recommend you go out and get him. He can replenish his MP with his max move, he's got mini potion all, and his trainer move is very, very good. Leaf is just a lesser version of Sycamore and Red, kind of combined. My dog is making a guest appearance because, of course, my animals want to make noise when I'm doing stuff. But yeah, she's like a lesser version of a combined Redlax and Sycamore. So until you get either one of those, which Sycamore is a legendary unit, which means you can get him for free, Leaf is not a bad option. But this guy, Classic Giovanni, he is free at the time of this recording. He will become free in like 6 days. He can buff user speed when he enters the battle. When his health is low, he gets gives move gauge acceleration, can remove status conditions. Dire Hit All Plus raises attack and special attack, and applies gradual healing to all allied sync pairs. He's got Bite and Slash. On his base kit leaves a little bit to be desired, but if you look at his grid, it can be very, very snowball-y, where if he makes a move, if he does Slash or Bite, it buffs a wide variety of stats. I don't remember which ones, I will admit, but he can really get the ball going. I think he's going to be pretty good. I think he'll be on par with Leaf. I don't think he'll be as good as Redlax, but like I said, Redlax is one of the best ones. But yeah, absolutely. If you're playing between the 15th and I guess it ends in September when he goes away, definitely do what you can to get him maxed out, because he'll be very good. He'll be very good. But that's it for the normal types. On to the ground type. And the big new addition is Courtney, who can set up ground zone. Obviously, good. You know, this type definitely needed it. I was hoping, and this kind of goes back to the conversations about needing certain lucky skills. She, without a certain lucky skill, is basically just a massive support for Maxie, right? She's got the ground zone, she can lower speed really well. Once she megas, I believe she also gets defensive crush, but let me confirm that. Yeah, her moves are powered up when speed is lowered, prevents freezing, and yeah, lowers target's defense by 1 stat. So yeah, she gets defense crush 2 base, and then when she megas, defense crush 9. So essentially with her bulldoze, she's lowering speed and defense of all units on your opponent's side by 1. Which is great. Buffs her own defense, buffs her own attack, defense, and crit rate. Again, pretty good. I think she can make an argument for here if you give her Sand Shelter. Because then she's not only buffing just Maxi, she's buffing Cynthia, who just got a little bit of a nerf. She could theoretically buff Bertha's shenanigans, because Bertha can trap, and she automatically sets up Sandstream. She can buff Giovanni Nidoking. She can even buff these two. I don't know why Hapu wasn't a support. It can buff its own defense all the way up. It's got Mud Slap. It should have been a support, but I digress. She helps every single unit on this tree. And again, the zone setups cannot be understated, and the fact that she's free is even better. Somebody like Cynthia is around super often. They find some ways to give her away for free. Maxi is coming back around, and even if you don't have any of these, which if you watched the last video, I complained plenty that all the good ground types are, or ground type damage dealers are premium, you can use her as a damage dealer if you have none of these. And that is the beauty of it. You do her, you give her Sandstream, you pair her with free Bertha, you pair her with Hapu because you need a third, and you're good to go. You know, like, I'm very glad we got this pair. I'm happy for her. My gems have been going somewhere else, and unfortunately I'm probably going to be spending all the ones I'm saving up for another pair, but if I get him early, I'm probably going to be investing the rest of my gems into him and another pair we're talking about next. But yeah, very great. I touched on Bertha. She sets up Sand, which is very good for the type. A lot of these units have, with the exception of Maxi, have tiles in their grid that make them better in Sand. Another basically better Bertha. Engo is better Bertha, but he's premium, and he's not around that often. Cynthia's around a lot. She gets a lot better in Sand. It's part of her base kit, actually, because one of her moves gets a lot better in Sand. Maxi is probably the best ground type, if I'm going to be honest, but I literally just did a whole spiel about how she's very good, and I don't think there's a big enough gap between him and her to really put him up here, especially because he's only been around once, and he's getting his first repeat probably, it's been like a year at least since he was around last, so, you know, I can't put him all the way up there. I wish I would have liked Suit Giovanni a little bit more than I do. I like him quite a bit because I called him a little bit verbatim, but I did call him. I don't like his hit the gas that much, but, you know, he can get the job done. Like, if you don't have the rest of these and you got him, but, you know, he's another event pair where I don't know if they're going to rerun the event, so, you know, you can knock him down here and I wouldn't be shocked, but I won't. But that's it for the ground type. And now we come to the type slightly less neglected than ground. I think ground has probably been the type that has been shafted the most because, again, all of their good units are premium. Well, almost all. Too many of their good units are premium. But then you have the poison type. All of their units are free, so that's very good. The new addition to the team is Looker with Krogunk. I have him up here. Admittedly, I don't have him yet, but I think, and I hope he's going to shred a lot better than Plumeria and Lucy. And he's like the other unit who can EX, and I believe he's a striker as well, so he does a lot of the things Plumeria can do, except he doesn't deal AoE damage, which I think hampers Plumeria way too much. Plumeria has Sludge Wave. She can buff her own special defense, move gauge boost. She's fine. She is the de facto, or at least was the de facto, best poison damage dealer in the game. Lucy was another one. She's a tech unit who can do trap and poison damage, but I forget Jesse and James aren't technically free because they were event pairs and they were around for a very long time, but they are technically premium. But you know, James is the closest thing we've had to a poison support, which same thing with ground. Why are certain types or certain pairs not supports? But he can poison everybody very quick, which, you know, helps feed back into everybody else. Jesse's whatever, Koga's, like, all these pairs are kind of whatever. Like, really, Jesse's kind of whatever, too. Like, if you're going to do a poison damage, you can kind of cheap out and just use another unit that deals poison damage, like the person we just talked about with Giovanni. Where are you? He has Poison Jab. Alistair has, I think, Sludge Bomb, which, whatever. They're, again, just a whole lot of whatever. Basically, these are your three options. There's not really much to say because there's not really anything interesting about the type. I wish we would get more pairs, especially because I feel like there's a lot of poison types in the game, or a lot of Pokemon that could be poison types. You know, like, we could get a Poison Beedrill, we could get Galarian Weezing, we could get, you know, it just goes on and on. But, again, I'm not trying to make a 2-hour slogfest, so that's it for the poison types. And the last type we're going to go over in this video, and probably the longest one I'll talk about outside of Fire type, is Psychic, because it got the biggest upgrade, really. But I'll get to that in a second. I don't own these three pairs. They're all... And I believe this was just like an event pair, another event pair, holiday pair, like whatever. They're not around right now. If you're brand new, or if you missed out on them because you were taking a break from the game, then, you know, it's not like you can go back and get them at the moment. So, let's talk about the rest of these. Guess I'll start at the bottom. Not very good. Like, you'll get him, and then you'll leave him on the bench. Oak is still around. He is a free event pair that's, I believe, expires sometime in 2023. He's fine. He's got a nice little gimmick where he lowers a random stat of your opponent by 1, and he has Swift. Once he uses his Sync move, I believe all the other moves and trainer moves he has outside of Psychic be replaced with Fire Blast, Blizzard, and Thunder, which is dumb. You really don't want to use his Sync move because of that. Like, his best use is just spamming Swift, which never misses and guarantees that you lower an opponent's stat by 1, which is great. Moving on up, Caitlyn is a free Psychic Striker. If you don't have some of these other ones... Oh, I forgot one. I forgot a very important one. Yikes. Mea culpa. You go there. Yeah, because basically you're going to use her until you get him. Which, if you get him first, then you're never going to use her. Simple as that. Lucian's another kind of whatever pair. He at least has Growl Spam, which is pretty good. He lowers defense. He lowers stats pretty well on your opponent, which, you know, pretty good. And he can do it for super low energy, which is also really good. I thought I had his... Yeah, I do. Yeah, he's got X special attack, buff his own defense, and special defense, buffs his crit, gradual healing on himself, buffs up his power, buffs up his sync move when target's attack is lowered, raises speed by 1 when it uses a status move, lowers target special defense by 1 when a move targeting it is successful. He's got confusion and growl, so you can essentially spam growl and really, you know, raise your speed up to 6, lower defense and attack and special defense, excuse me, by 6 pretty quickly. So he has uses, but he's not really your damage dealer. I'm going to talk about him last because he's the new guy. We have Signasuit Lusamine, who I think is the bet. We're not going to talk about this guy yet, so excluding this guy, who I will talk about, I think Lusamine is the best of these pairs. She's got the Anniversary Lily kit, while not, I think, as strong as Anniversary Lily. She's definitely good. Like, she's got a mix of Anniversary Lily and Anniversary N. And that's really good. You know, I can't understate it. The problem with her is she doesn't get the Anniversary N stuff until after she becomes Ultra Necrozma, which does hurt her sync move a little bit. She is a striker, but, you know, once she gets going hard. So, Lear's another good one. He is just a very, very much better Grimsley. You know, he's got Snatch, he's got a move that doesn't miss, he can lower sync move cooldown very quickly. They've brought him around a few times, but I don't know when they'll bring him back. Moving on up, you have the Psychic Terrain Setter, who can actually do things on her own. You set up terrain, use her buffs, and you start mowing with stored power. Very good. Love, Bianca's great. Like, no matter who you end up using as your damage dealer, you need to get Bianca. Especially because she sets up terrain. I believe May and Latias also set up terrain. And to an extent, Steven and Deoxys, but again, we'll talk about it. But she's the only one who's free. Speaking of free, Sabrina and Alakazam, Liza and Lunatone. Liza and Lunatone is very underrated. Buff special defense, buffs attack, buff special attack. 2 of those are very good for the Psychic type, and the other, like, her flexibility makes her very good outside of the Psychic type. You can use her with Zinnia and Rayquaza, you know, who has special defense lowering on Dragon Ascent now, and uses physical and special attack moves. Another example would be Brendan and Sceptile. Another example would be... I'll think of one later. But there's plenty of examples of those who have attack and special attack. And then Sabrina has accuracy buffs. She has a heal. She has special attack up. And I believe she has reflect, which lowers the damage of physical moves. And then Giovanni, very solid Psychic type. Again, if not counting this guy, who we're going to talk about very soon, he's probably your first choice for a Psychic damage dealer. He's obviously going to hit harder than Bianca. Even once she gets all the way up, he's going to hit harder than Mew. He's going to hit harder than Caitlyn and Ranunculus. And he's free. You know, he's a legendary pair. You know, hopefully they make the power boosts that they've given to some of these legendary units like Cyrus, Mewtwo, or Giovanni, Silver, and Zinnia. Hopefully they make those free at some point. Right now they're all kind of tied to events. But, you know, once they do, I think he will be very hard to be... He will be up there with Lusamine. But... I had him here. I think the argument could be made. But he's 4 units in 1. I've read online that he's going to be... Granted, he comes out at the time of this recording. He comes out tomorrow. He comes out August 10th. So tomorrow, as I'm recording this, he is supposedly going to have the best damage output, higher than Signasuit Serena, and have the best sync nuke, which I don't know. So this argument could be made if you're the super hardcore player, but for me, I am going to put him here because he's premium. And yes, if you're watching this video not long after it comes out, you have a chance to get him, and you should get him. I highly recommend pulling him because he's going to be a fantastic support, a fantastic damage dealer. Of his 4 forms, the only one that I think is personally lacking is his speed form. But, you know, he's going to be very, very unique, creative, fun to play, so many cool strategies. But he's gone before September comes around. And after that, if you don't have him, I try not to overhype premium pairs, because when I make my next video about this in September, he will not be available for purchase. And if you're starting in September because, I don't know, Volo is coming into the game, or there's a new Cynthia outfit and you took a break from the game, or they're finally doing more Lola story, whatever. If you miss out on him and you're just starting, this is your best bet. You know? Is Steven and Deoxys better than Mewtwo and Giovanni? Yes. But when is he going to be coming back? You know? Maxie and Archie were gone for like a year. And I can't understate that enough, where it's like, I am not making a video that's like the apps. Like, I want to put context on this tier list. There are certain things that I weigh more than others, and a character being around basically all the time, that's not a limited time thing, is something that I consider, you know? So for me, I can't put him as the supreme best because I don't know if the gap between him and Lusamine is high enough to do that, and I don't even know if the gap between him and Giovanni is high enough to do that. So he's going to stay there. I will talk a little bit about what he can do. He's got Contrary, kind of like the disappointing Steven with Shiny Rayquaza. He does have 4 forms. His normal form has fuel economy, increased chance of certain status conditions like flinching, confused, trap. He can set up psychic terrain for once, buff a little bit of stats. Other than that, the other thing that he has across the board is recover, which is great. Which means you can get a little more flexible with his supports. Obviously, you'd want to do it with him and Bianca, but you can do him and Liza, so on and so forth. He does buff his own defense and special defense by 1, but, you know, whatever. And then his sync move, the more the stats are raised, greater power attack, similar to Lear, similar to Summer Marnie. Excuse me. His attack form, nothing really gets changed in terms of his moves. He has a chance of increasing his physical and special moves up next effect by 1 when successful. And this is the big one for attack, which is why, you know, you could put him in best, is when his sync move targets an opponent, the attack becomes, targets all opposing sync pairs. And the moves, the power of the moves affected are not lowered even if there are multiple targets. So essentially, even though he's a tech unit, he, without having to take him to 6 stars, you get the 6-star EX effect of Strikers, plus if you do 6-star him, you have that 1.5 times multiplier. So yeah, he's going to be very good, and he's going to quite literally be a sync nuke. So that's great. That's fantastic. And then with his buff to get him into attack form, raises special attack by 6, raises crit by 3. Very good. His defense form, which I think is probably the other form that people will do, raises defense by all, raises special defense of all allies by 2 whenever he uses a status move. Whenever he uses a status move that raises its stats only, it raises the same stats by the same amount for all allied sync pairs. To get him into defense mode, it raises attack and special attack by 4. He gets Iron Defense, which raises defense by 2. So you can very quickly buff the defense and special defense of all of your team to 6 very quickly. And that's really good, again. And then last one, Speed Form. Again, I think it's kind of the weakest of them because it doesn't drastically change any particular stat. He gets a slight defensive buff, mostly a speed buff. Reduces sync move cooldown by 2 the first time it uses a status move, which first time it uses a status move also applies move gauge acceleration, and it gets double team. So you can give yourself double team, which when you go into speed form, speed goes up to 6, cooldown goes down by 2, and then evasiveness goes up to 3. So you use double team 3 times and you're at max evasiveness. So, you know, it's just a little disappointing, especially considering how good the attack and defense forms are. But I digress. Do you think he should be up here? Let me know. I mean, I made the argument why he should be up here, but that's not an argument that I'm going to make. That's going to do it for this video. Again, thank you guys so much for watching my last one and making it my most viewed video on the channel. Maybe I'll make some sports content again. Doubt it. Not that I've been feeling burnout, I just haven't had inspiration for anything, and I started a new job that I'm super happy with. And, you know, I don't, like I said, I'll find motivation, hopefully, you know, but if you guys like the Pokemon Masters content, I'll keep making the Pokemon Masters content. I still have all those notes for the second build game workshop about Pokemon Masters units that I want to see, which I'll have to re-talk about Aaron, and I actually had Classic Giovanni on those notes too, although I was going to say Persian with Orange Suit Giovanni from the comics, or from the anime. But that's going to do it for me, guys. Until next time, drive safe, everyone.